Hello and welcome to today's tutorial. My name is Joseph. So, in today's tutorial, I'll be covering how to create some simple primitives. This is a bit of a lead-in, hopefully, to creating some simple shadows for the simple lighting engine. But before I start showing you guys what I've done, I really just want to thank you guys for liking the content we're producing here on the channel and interacting and comments and all that. It really does help. I just want to make it clear, I'm not telling you guys to do that, I'm just saying thank you for the guys that do it. And yeah, if you want to see anything particular, ask, minus the networking side of Gamemaker. I still have trouble wrapping my head around that. So, I'll just quickly run you guys through what we're going to be doing today. So, you'll be asking, what's a primitive, Joseph? So, a primitive is basically just a triangle we can draw. So this is actually quite useful if we want to draw shapes or make cutouts in blend modes. So you see, this is the plan for today's, this is what we're going to do. This is my third attempt at recording this because I'm trying to keep these videos in a reasonable time frame. So, what we're basically going to do in today's video, oh, wrong side, it's this side here because Gamemaker had to move it, is I've got some objects. My player object, oh, I just clicked on the sprite. My player object just simply has an X and Y attached. Nice and easy, nothing I wouldn't expect it to do. Our wall object is the one that's going to be driving a lot of this functionality. And I will show you guys what it does in a second. So I'm just going to run the program and kind of show you what it looks like without any of the scripting enabled. So you'll see here that the object can go around the wall, nothing fancy happens, it's just that. So what I'm going to show you now is the next step. So in the wall object, you'll notice that there's basically what you could call start points and end points. So this just maps out the wall object. Now what you will notice is I've actually got my wall at 64 by 64, but in the game world I've shrunk it down to 32 by 32. But if I wanted to bring it up to 64 by 64, I just change these values up. So each of these points just reference 1, 2, 3, 4, an XY, an XY, an XY, and an XY. So that's nothing fancy there, I've just mapped it out. The endpoints is dynamically generated by Gamemaker itself, and I've put this in a draw event. So if I come across over to here, and let me just expand it because again, Gamemaker doesn't give you a whole lot of room to work with. So you'll see here I've got a 4 event created, and basically all the 4 events going to do is it's just going to run through all the potential options in Gamemaker. So it's just going to run through each of the array entries we've got, so 4 array entries. In here, I've got my endpoint array, so that was the endpoint component I was talking about. And it looks at the start point, so this bases it off of each reference start point. So we've got 4 corners on a wall, so I want to reference 4 points of angle. So here is the start point, then we do the linear direction X, so we just add them together to get the actual reference position. And then from there, we just run down the process. So I've just set it to 200, point direction, my X start XY. Please note, super important to have this. I spent half an hour trying to work this out because it wasn't working. And I had missed a statement here. And then versing the player. And again, just please note that if you've got players and you delete them or referencing an object in this way, this will crash your game quite badly. So just please note, put a safety check in to make sure that these exist in these loops, because otherwise things can get a bit hairy. And then I'm just basically taking away the direction. So I'm just inverting the direction by using negative 180. So you'll ask, what does this even do? It just looks like a bunch of jargon to me. So you can see here, I've just got my start array for my X and Y and my end array for my X and Y. So if I run the program, let's see what this looks like. And you can see here my player, and as I move towards this wall, these lines I've drawn are dynamic. So if this was in a lighting source, for example, you can see how this would actually generate some nice dynamic potential lighting without too much hassle. So if I go over here and put the player in the center, that should look a little bit familiar to you guys, as it's basically this shape here. So the idea is if the player approaches a corner here, can you see how the corner reacts based on the player? Instead of it reacting in the center, it's actually reacting based on each of these reference points here, which is important because it creates a much more dynamic system, as you can see. So, the next part here, and this was a thing I had to restart the tutorial again for, because I stuffed it up a couple of times and had to debug it, which is always a fun little nightmare, is this here. Now, this is going to look daunting. It's not that daunting. All this is it's just a series of references to the arrays we've created to each point. So set 1 here that you look at, so you can see I've got array start entry 0 and 0, and then end and end, and then 1 and 1. So if I bring this up, that's going to reference 1 as the end point, 2 as a start point, and 3 as an end point. And then my next part of that array will be this part, this part, this part. So that will be 1, 1, 2. Then the next one should be 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. 2, 2, 4, blah, 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 going down the sequence. So it just references it, and then once we hit this one, it's the end of that sequence looping back to 0. So if I go in here, you can see that 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, then 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. So it's just drawing each of the vertices. And what I mean by that is if I go here, and let's just comment out this part here, we'll just get one set of the vertices. Oh, sorry, 2 sets of the vertices, which draws us that there. So you can see here, it just generates a pretty simple little shape. And again, if I move this even higher, my comment out, like so. Oh, come on, do it. Like that. You're just going to see that it's just drawing 1 vertices, like so. So if I go back in here and show you the diagram, you can see it's just drawing 1 of these vertices. It's actually the reverse, so this vertex is going this way. But it makes sense. So if I uncomment the whole thing, and again, just as a note, I'll put this up on Google Drive so you guys can download and play. So if I do that and reload it, you'll see now what I'm talking about. It creates this nice dynamic lighting set, like so. So if we've got players moving around, you can see how it creates this nice dynamic lighting potential. So, it's a little more complex. I've got to work on building the surfacing and that behind it, but the primitives themselves are pretty straightforward, as you can see. And then all I've done as well when I've generated these is I've shortened these. So if I actually create these relatively large, like so, you'll see that they'll go to the end of the screen, like so. So we actually get a pretty cool shadowing effect. And then if I get a couple more objects in room, like so. So if I grab some more instances, and you're going to have to forgive me because I still don't quite like the Gamemaker room function. And this will have some bugs in that because I haven't quite finished it. But in the sense of showing you guys how to create a primitive, it's pretty easy. So if I do that, you can see here we actually now start getting some decent shadowing. So part of what I need to do with surfacing and that and make it in a way that will make sense to you guys is retrieve all the shadows, import them into on their own surface as a single object, and then blend that with the room blend and light. So I know that will sound complicated, but I'm working through a way to make it actually make sense. But you can see here you get this really cool shadowing effect as your player would potentially move. Now the other use for primitives, and I'll just quickly touch on it, is here we can actually use primitive, and there's an actual texture primitive. So you could, in theory, if you wanted to attach your textures and draw a textured version of it instead of a straight black object. So that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you guys found it educational. And as always, if you want to see something, please ask. Again, I'm more than happy to sit down and try to work out a solution for you guys to explain how something works. And yeah, I want you guys to have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.